started.
Oh,
What's up, everybody? To the listeners of the interwebs or wherever the hell you listen to podcasts, this is Papa J's Variety Express. I am Papa J. Today, we have an episode of WhoDat. Pardon my voice crack. And today's guest is Black Swan. Woohoo! Black Swan.
Thank you for having me, Jordan.
So, Black Swan, let us know who you are. Let the people know what you want to go by, what I'll be referring to you as during this. Do you want to be called Mr. Swan, Mr. Black, Mr. Black Swan? Do you want to be called Jake?
I go by Jake, but for most people at least.
Mr. Black for the ladies.
Yes, Mr. Black for the ladies, of course.
Well, thank you so much, Jake, for being on the show.
Of course.
Very happy to have a good buddy of you to hop on and want to be on this nonsense of mine.
Sure. I mean, I really didn't get a whole lot of say, to be honest, but here I am.
You know, and that's what it is, and that's what's going to be, damn it.
That's what it is.
So, to the people at home, let them know, like, what is your music genre?
So I'm really into experimental-based music, specifically along the lines of dubstep. Pretty much anything along the lines of freeform bass, experimental, electronic, dabbling even with some techno, analog gear. Pretty much just anything that sounds interesting that you don't hear a lot of on the radio.
Safe to say, you make a lot of unique noises.
Yeah, sound design's really what I'm most interested in. Music theory is interesting, and a lot of people are heavily into that with their electronic music. I think sound design is kind of a very different field where you're almost creating an entire sonic universe. Each track can be its own specific theme, and it doesn't just have to be notes and chords. You can kind of just take one sound and make it talk to another sound. You know, usually it's still going to fall within frequency spectrums to form in keys and whatnot, but it doesn't necessarily have to be about just music. You know, it's just about creating weird noises. It's actually a lot of fun.
You're creating pretty much like an audio journey for your listeners.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, it's not just instruments I'm using software programs and machines, and I think I should appreciate that for what it is. You know, of course I can make musical things with that, but why not make technological sounding things with that?
I love sounding.
Yeah. If that
So,
made any sense.
oh my god, no. It definitely does. Shout out to sounding. So how long have you been like working on that? What got you into sound designing?
It's actually funny. When I was in 8th grade, I want to say, I discovered deadmau5. It came across. I think he was on the MTV Music Video Awards or something at the time. He was doing like the DJing and hosting of it or something like that.
Was that when like ghosts and stuff was
real
popular?
That's when that became a whole big thing, and I discovered him around then. I fell down the rabbit hole a little bit. You know, it evolved past deadmau5, you know, into classic EDM artists like Tiesto and Cascade. But then I started getting into dubstep as it was starting to become dubstep as we know it today. You know, I listened to some of the primal stuff in the very early dubstep days, but I think a lot of the modern dubstep is where sound design becomes the most interesting. And I started to really go down that rabbit hole, and most of it was started because I heard a deadmau5 song.
That's pretty wild. An introduction like deadmau5 to where you are. So,
Yeah.
What artists would you say you're similar to now, if you could cite any?
I try my best to have some similarities to the artists I listen to most. A lot of sort of like a record label conglomerate almost. Wakan. It's not really a record label. It's more of like a society of people that make really cool music, and you kind of just get supported by them. I guess you could sort of look at it like a family. It's owned by Liquid Stranger, and he does some really interesting music and very unique sound design, and the entire label, everyone on it is just wildly unique. So I guess I kind of try to go into the most unique territory I can.
If you're listening, he's wanting in.
Well, yes, of course. I mean, that's dreams. You know, I retire after that.
Yeah, you could close the book on that one.
I'd be like, I'm good. I don't need to do anything else with music. I'm content. I've done everything I wanted.
So, it's real cool to have you on here because you are my first, like, purely electronic fucking guest, which is super fucking hype because this conversation doesn't get to happen a lot.
Sure. Yeah.
So give some, if you're okay with it,
Sure.
giving people some insider tips. So like, what are you using like gear wise? What software are you using as well?
So I run everything through Ableton Live 10. It's a digital audio workstation. Some people use FL Studio. Some people use Logic, Pro Tools. Ableton's my tool of choice. I've been using it since Live 7.
You're insane for that.
I mean, I've been using it for so long. It's what I learned on. I tried FL for a little bit, and I found it more confusing in my very early days. I don't know why. Just one day Ableton clicked. It took a long time, and it's a very steep learning curve from, I think, anything else. But once you learn it, it's like learning a different language where there's just little tricks you learn through it, and your workflow is just incredibly efficient. It's complicated to learn, but there's a lot to it. I mean, I still barely scratched the surface of it, if you ask me.
Jesus.
And then I use quite a bit of different software synths right now. I do a lot of resampling and just audio manipulation where I'll take one sound and completely change it into something else. I'll take a kick drum and I can make an entire song out of just a single kick drum if I wanted to, by tweaking and manipulating that sample into other things it was never meant to be. I think that's what's most interesting about sound design is you can make anything out of anything, and that's kind of what I go through. Yeah.
So, what weird sounds have you used to make a song?
I actually once made a song entirely out of a Red Bull can.
What?
So I had a Red Bull can, and I didn't open it yet, and this was probably when I was 17. I was in my basement, and I decided to set up a microphone, and I recorded me opening it. I took a sip, I flicked the can, just kind of make random little tings and noises. And I took all of those samples and just changed them into a random little beat. I don't think it was like a full song. It was like a 16-bar loop, but I'm like, something interesting to work with.
It was long enough to listen to and be like, wow, I made sound.
I wanted to see if I could do it. I mean, I think when you put some restrictive barriers up as an artist, you kind of get forced to work within certain walls, and you just can become fully creative within those boundaries. So if you stick to, let's just say, 30 samples to use for an entire song and maybe one synth or something, you kind of get forced to be really creative with how you use them, and you can come up with some really interesting results. A lot of happy accidents, I think.
So, happy accidents. I wouldn't say most of these are happy accidents. They seem fully on purpose, polished pieces of gold, you bastard. You make a lot of really good stuff. So tell me, like, give me a song of yours, and please let me know what went into making said song.
So the only song that's actually currently live at the time of this recording is a single called Channels, which is off of an upcoming EP, which I'm hoping to have released by this fall, which will be my debut EP. There should be about 5 or 6 songs on there. I haven't decided just yet. But the only one that's live right now is called Channels, and I just decided to make a very interesting element. I've noticed lately a lot with the news and the media has just been kind of disturbing to watch, and I basically just took a whole bunch of news samples and recorded sounds of just people talking, flipping back and forth through each other, and created an element of basically like channel surfing on a TV. And I took a frequency shifter in the drop, which kind of created the main element of like a dubstep lead, I guess. And the frequency shifter and the whole channel vibe of just everything changing together, I'm like, let's call it Channels and make an interesting, odd element.
So, I'm curious, when do you find that you're making the most? Like, what part of the day, what time of the day?
It's very inconsistent for me. I wish I could say I do something, a specific time every day like it's routine, but I have a really hard time.
See, I was hoping it wasn't routine. That's why.
It's not. I had very sporadic bursts where in 5 hours I'll sit down and I'll not glance to either side of me once. I'll just be glued to the screen working on something. And that'll be 95% of a song, just right there. And I'll spend another 45 hours tweaking the other 5% of the song because I'm just never happy with it. So it's very sporadic bursts. Sometimes I'll just get really, really creative, but most of it I'm just sitting around tweaking things.
So what do you think is the quickest you've produced a song?
Something that I've been satisfied with, probably about 11 or 12 hours for a 3-minute song.
Very nice. How long has been some of your longer tracks you've worked on?
I don't do anything super long, honestly. I don't feel the need to, because I like to think of my music being played in a live setting.
Oh no, I mean like time long.
Oh, not length of the track. How long? I've spent
Silly goose.
I'm so sorry. I got mixed up on that. I spent like 75 hours on a track once.
Good
from start to finish. It wasn't any longer than, it was a 3-minute song. I was never happy with it. I kept making changes to it. I did like 5 variations in production, and I finally figured out one that I liked, and I'm still on the fence about it, so I'm just letting it sit for a while until I'm like definitive which version of it I like the best.
Alright, so now that we've heard a word from our sponsor, we're going to throw in one of the songs from Black Swan. This one's called Channels. Hey everybody, welcome back from the little break that we just had. You are listening to WhoDat, and we are still kicking it with Black Swan, aka Jake. Hi Jake.
Hi Jordan.
Hello. Yeah. We're just having a great old time over here. So, Mr. Black Swan, Jake, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Please, tell me about some cool shows you've been to.
I don't go to a whole lot of concerts anymore.
I mean, nobody does anymore.
Well, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, to be honest. One of my earliest shows I'd ever seen with electronic music was actually Flux Pavilion during Electric Adventure. That was at Seaside, and I actually snuck into it. I was DJing an after party at one of the shops on the boardwalk, for Electric Adventure, and my friend happened to work at the shop, and he managed to kind of sneak me in past the security guard because he had a ticket or something, I guess. And so I got to see Flux Pavilion's set, and then I left that and played a show.
Wow, that's pretty fucking sick.
It was actually really fun, yeah.
Excuse me. I remember back in the day, I mean, and still now, Flux Pavilion was the tits. Like,
I mean, yeah, he's classic. He's legend status at this point.
Still rocks my playlist.
Yeah, I mean, he has some...
So... You okay there?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You threw me there.
More. That's what that means. So yeah, some other shows.
My favorite show I've ever been to in my entire life was February of last year. It was Liquid Stranger. It was in some industrial district in Brooklyn in February. It was actually, I was drastically underdressed. Me and my buddy went, and I was just wearing a hoodie and some jeans, and I'm pretty sure I got mild frostbite on a couple toes. But Liquid Stranger was like my earliest days in dubstep and electronic music, and I've been listening to him for like 8 or 9 years at that point. So it was very, very special to me. And I was front row for that entire thing. I left with a severe migraine at 4 in the morning, and I hadn't been happier in years.
100% worth it?
Oh yeah, I was on the rail the whole time. Beautiful show.
Oh my god.
It was with LS Dream, Lucy, G-Rex, Champagne Drip. Incredible show. It was a really good lineup. That was on his Infinity Tour, which was an insane album. 30 songs long.
Whoa there!
Yeah, it was a masterpiece.
So, for the people who've never been to like an EDM or electronic or dub type concert, what's that experience like? Because obviously you're not watching a band going off on stage.
It's true. I mean, it really depends on the type of show you go to. So I'm into more aggressive music. Dubstep's kind of like heavy metal of electronic music. So there's a lot of headbanging and moshing at a lot of these kinds of shows because the drops are very, very aggressive, sort of like a heavy metal lead or a drop or something like that. Just very, very aggressive sounds and rhythms and fast speeds, so people dance accordingly. But then at the same time, you could go to like techno shows, and it's just a whole bunch of people vibing out and bouncing in the room. Usually there's a lot of lights, lasers. Often there's cool visuals at some of the better shows. Sometimes just underground shows, though, it's just some lasers and swirling lights around.
Okay, so build me your perfect show with you featuring in it. Who do you want performing? It can be festival setting. You get to have as many people. What's a show for you?
I mean, Lost Lands pretty much has the best lineup every year of all time. That's Excision, who's like a god of dubstep, basically. That's his festival. And it's all dinosaur themed. It takes place usually in Ohio, if I'm correct. Giant dinosaur statues they have, like robotic things. It's actually really cool. It's like if Jurassic Park and Ultra Music Festival had a baby.
Oh.
Really interesting.
That sounds sick.
But they have a killer lineup every single year. I mean, of course, Excision always headlines it, but they always have just top tier artists. But then they also usually have a lot of supporting artists, which are on the up and coming scene. And those guys are usually the best. I mean, you see some really interesting music you've never heard before. There's fantastic artists out there. There's a guy called Of the Trees that does really interesting sounds and just obscure experimental music. G. Jones is incredible. He's probably, I would say, among the best beat makers of the past decade. Just wildly talented producer. And so like all these people tend to be on these lineups, and it's just everyone in the span of 3 days that you've ever wanted to see. So I think something along those lines, pretty much any Lost Lands lineup that you've seen for the past several years, anything like that would be top tier.
You get to headline the up and coming list.
I would love to.
There you go.
I'll be at the bottom of the list, and I'd be happy.
That'd be
Playing
cool.
music's fun.
I'd see you.
I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Obviously the world right now isn't suited for shows.
No, it's not.
But in the future, after the EP is dropped, would you consider doing like some live stream shows?
I think about that actually. I've had some people talk to me and ask me if I wanted to do live stream of production or live stream shows where I'm just either making music, playing music, going through like just random playlists that I kind of have of stuff that I find that not many people find or hear otherwise. Mm-hmm. So I've had a lot of people ask me about that actually lately, and I think about it. I'm not sure yet, just because I'm a generally nervous individual. So being on camera doesn't make me feel any more comfortable.
Okay, so now I'm curious.
Sure.
So do you think that you would benefit from headgear? Like how Mello wears his headgear or Deadmau5 used to?
Not necessarily. I mean, I used to play shows and I would still get nervous. But I mean, I did like nightclubs and stuff when I was a kid. And it wasn't that big of a deal because no one's really paying attention to you, the DJ. They're paying attention to the entire experience. It's not like when you're watching a band and everyone's looking at the singer. You're watching the whole experience when you're at one of these shows. So it's very different, I think. You're distracted by the lights and the music and the crowd around you. You're not really focused on the guy playing it.
You get to disappear a little bit. But I guess when it is a live stream, it is only focusing on you.
Yeah, because I mean, otherwise you just sit and you listen to the music. Like no one wants to just look at me.
Just dance awkwardly.
That's just it.
Dance around
I would have a
awkwardly
really
and
hard
make
time
fun.
with that. I'd just be standing, bobbing my head aggressively. Kind of like when I'm just driving. Like I don't dance in the car. I just aggressively bob my head to the music.
I enjoy this a little bit more now. Yes.
Entirely.
Yes. Oh, goodness gracious. See, this is fun. It's great to talk to people outside of the range that I feel most people get to talk to.
Sure.
Or get to hear about your genre.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like real music. It's just I'm very interested in the idea of creating new sounds. I look at it like creating a new color.
So, just so people understand the non-bias, some of the non-sound design electronic artists that you're into.
What do you mean, like, just like
regular pop?
I mean, I guess if we're talking like electronic artists, you got everyone from Avicii, Deadmau5, Tiesto. They do all melodic music. Yeah, of course. I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of that mainstream EDM where it's very melodic. I don't listen to a whole lot of it, to be honest. There's some great music out there.
Bias!
But at that point, when I listen to melodic music, I'm usually listening to stuff with, guitars and singers and, bands. That when I listen to melodies, that's kind of what I look for. I like the idea of playing the instruments. When I write music, I like the idea of creating weird sounds.
That's your instrument, so...
Exactly. It's just sequencing these sounds in a very strange and specific order.
And I'm pretty sure if the interlude had anything to do with this, they've heard what you've been doing, and hopefully after the show they're going to hear even more of what you're working on, and that's really exciting.
Of course.
So, Jake, obviously you're going to make a mark, or at least try,
Sure.
when you're coming out, and I'm hoping that once your album comes out, we get to hear a lot more of you. Obviously, you've worked on other projects, and you've worked on your secret beats, as one does. That being said, what advice do you give to people, or, a youth, do it for the youths that are thinking about, I like this electronic stuff. Maybe I want to try downloading the free trial on Ableton.
Do that. Literally just do exactly that. Watch all the YouTube videos on it. Learn it as quick as you can and just focus on it. If you like it, do it. Make it a hobby. Don't ever focus on trying to make money off of it because that's when it becomes unenjoyable. I did that once and it was not enjoyable. It was very, very stressful. I was trying to create a product rather than just express emotional feeling. And, at the end of the day, that's kind of what music is. And now I kind of just I write what I like. I do what I want. And I'm happy with the sound of it. And when I'm happy with the sound of it, that's when I decide to release something. If I'm not happy with it, it doesn't go out. So
here we are.
Yeah.
So just for funsies, I'm gonna throw random artists in my brain. I just want you to tell me if you enjoy them. So Death Grips.
Who?
Okay. I can accept that. Aphex Twins.
Who?
Oh my god.
I'm kidding. I have a crest of Aphex Twin tattooed on my hip. I love Aphex Twin.
You lying bastard.
I wanted to see if you'd fall for it twice.
I knew you have the tattoo. The world doesn't know, but I'll make sure to make the picture of this episode, specifically that tattoo. Just kidding, I'm not.
I appreciate that.
Shout out to Jake's hip. Let's... How do you feel about vaporwave?
It's interesting. It's not my own cup of tea.
Could you make it?
Probably. I could make a lot of music I don't necessarily listen to. That doesn't necessarily mean I'll have fun doing it. At that point, I'm just...
That point, that's working.
Yeah, I'm working on a project at that point, which there's nothing wrong with it. You know, at the end of the day, you still have to make something people like. Hopefully, at least, you know. But, you know, I'm not working on that one for me at that point.
Okay. So, do you ever get approached for, like, commissions and stuff like that?
I've been approached for a handful. I've done some beats with this fine gentleman that you know by Nick Nubbs.
Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, I heard he smells, but I mean, other than that, he's a pretty cool guy. A little nubby, but you know, we signed a pre-nub.
Oh my god.
I hate myself.
You know, for that one you should.
I'm a walking dad joke.
That being said, where can people like reach out to you if they want to like try to get in touch, try to see your music or find where your music's going to be, or get in touch with you for maybe a commission?
I would say the best way to get a hold of me is at Black Swan Official on Instagram. If you want to put that in the show notes.
Oh no, I will. It'll be there.
Then don't put my comment about putting it in the show notes.
I won't. No,
Okay.
You know what? Because you're asking, I'm going to.
Oh, you're actually going to do it now. Well, that's okay. But yeah, that's probably the best way to get a hold of me. And in my bio, there's a link tree which has just about everything else. Otherwise, it's Black Swan on SoundCloud. I'm on Spotify now.
Yay! You know what? So's the podcast.
Is it now?
If you're on Spotify and you're listening to the Papa J Variety Express, it only takes a couple of seconds to type in Black Swan. That's with a V. It's with a V, people. There's a V in black.
It's actually pronounced BLVK.
BLVK SWAN. That being said, Mr. BLVK SWAN, do you have any last words for the people listening to WhoDat?
Just make sure you drink your water. It's really important to stay hydrated. And
Drink
also,
water.
don't be afraid to wear sunscreen.
Don't be afraid of the sunscreen, be afraid of the sun, and always make sure you're staying hydrated. Always make sure you're staying hydrated.
English would help, buddy.
You know, some days it will, some days it won't. Parts of that, I'm going to make that sound like a coherent sentence. I shit you not. It's going to come out.
Shout out Thicc Leather Bread.
Shout out to Thicc Leather Bread, holding it down this entire time. If you've been listening, thank you so much for listening. We've done lost Black Swan. He's laughing into the abyss. Thank you so much once again, Papa J Variety Express. We now know who Black Swan is. Jake, say goodbye to the people.
Bye to the people.
Power to the people. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Choo-choo. Yo, so if you made it to this part of the episode, that means it's over. Just kidding. We have a lovely debut for Black Swan coming in. This song is called I Twitch. Just letting you know, fair warning, gets a little loud. So you're going to want to take your speakers, make them as loud as you possibly can, blow them shits out, because this shit smacks hard as fuck.